By age 8, I was involved in alcohol and drugs. I didn't really have any guidance from home. My mom was a single mom, and she was more involved in her own life in drugs and alcohol that unfortunately she didn't offer a lot of guidance and support for me. At the time I was 11, I was willingly sexually active, and my drug addiction just escalated from there. I then entered into what I called a relationship at the time, and it wasn't until I was much older to realize that it was child molestation. It wasn't a relationship. And it was with a man who was 26 years old and I was 12. I told my mom about it. She came to find out about it because we were all living there in this house together, 11 people, and she didn't do anything. I'd done cocaine and acid and marijuana or whatever up until that point, but then it really took an ugly turn into crack and heroin and meth, which are much, much harsher drugs. They're all bad, but those were definitely a lot worse. We were sitting in a hotel with another person doing drugs, and the person that my ex-husband was buying them from, and I remember him looking at my ex-husband and saying, I don't remember the exact wording that he used, but he basically was asking, is there another way that you'd like to pay? And to be honest, if my ex-husband would have said yes, that's probably what would have happened. And so fortunately, he didn't. I remember one time he came and he wanted to get more drugs, and I would get to the point where I was just so done, and I would just want it to end, and I would just want to go. I would just want to go home, and I would want it to stop. There would be points where I just wanted it to stop. I remember one time he came and he asked me for my engagement ring so that he could pawn it in so that we could get more drugs. And I didn't want to give it to him. And I remember he got really mad and he was like, just give it to me, I'll get it back. I promise I'll get it back for you. And so I did. I ended up giving it to him. Obviously I didn't ever get it back. I remember dropping him off at work, and I came home, and I remember just feeling so sad and so just lost. Like, how do I make this stop? And I hit my knees, and I didn't even know how to pray. I didn't even know how to pray. I didn't know what that looked like. And I just got on my knees and laid with my head on the bed and started just praying, like calling out to God and saying, please, please help me. I don't even know if you exist or if you're real or what. Please just make this stop for me. And I don't remember everything that I said. I just remember feeling done and just weeping and crying for I remember it being like 30 minutes, and the only reason I remember that is because if anyone knows me, it's hard for me to sit still for 30 minutes. And I just was like, wow, that was impactful, and nothing miraculous happened in that moment. But I remember a peace, and at that time, I identified it as being numb, like I was just done. And now I can look back and say it was God's peace. I called my best friend, who was the only real friend I had in all of this situation, because she wouldn't partake in the things that I was taking part in. And our friendship suffered for that. But when I really needed her, she was there. And so I called her and explained to her what had happened. And her family graciously opened up their home to me, which, given the condition I was in, I don't know why they would have. I was homeless and I was strung out on drugs. I barely had a job, but they said I could come sleep on their couch. And then one day in June of 2008, my friend Robin brought me to K2. And I didn't even know why Jesus died. I didn't understand that. I knew kind of who he was, but I didn't really understand why he died. And that day, Dave was giving a sermon on why Jesus died. And he gave this analogy that was so just relatable for me, because he said, if someone gave you $5 and said you didn't have to pay him back, you'd be like, oh, that's awesome, that's cool. If someone gave you $1 million and said you didn't have to pay them back, you would fall at their feet. He said he gave his whole life for you. And in that moment, I just bawled. And my heart was captivated, but I didn't know what I believed. I didn't know I knew that Jesus had delivered me from my addiction. I knew that beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I didn't know what it looked like to connect with people beyond that. So for the next 18 months, I came in late and I left early saying, this is great for here, but I'm not talking to anybody outside of church about God. I'm not even talking to anybody inside church about God. I was just coming and sitting, and I came to Encounter, and that was in September of 2009. And at that time, Mike and Samantha Kanzler were running it, and they were both very welcoming. When I came in, I was very, very nervous. I can't believe how hot it felt in that room because I was so nervous. I kept coming back, and it was awesome because I didn't really know what I believed, but people accepted me right where I was, just like Jesus did, that just accepted me right where I was and loved me and directed me. And 2 months later, I was baptized by my friend Sam and Wendy, and I've been walking with him ever since. If I wouldn't have had people around me, if I wouldn't have had that to balance me out, it really would have just been another high. Because, and that's what I think the whole thing about the seed in the soil is, if you don't have people there to help till it up, it's not going to be fertile. As I was thinking about this, it wouldn't have been. If I wouldn't have had people coming alongside me and guiding me when I would get into trouble or start feeling sad, or just processing all of the things that I've gone through, I would have easily just strayed away. I think that having people around me was essential to me walking with Jesus, and will remain essential to me walking with him.